The book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 1. Joshua 1 and 1. Joshua, the first chapter and the first verse. Excuse me. God tells Joshua what to do. The Lord's servant Moses had died. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, who had helped Moses in his work. The Lord said to Joshua, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now you and all these people must get ready to cross the Jordan River. Lead the people of Israel into the land that I'm giving to them. I've given to you every part of the ground that you walk on. I promised Moses that I would do this. You will have all the land from the desert in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north. It will be from the river Euphrates to the Mediterranean Sea on the west. You'll have all the land of the Hittite people. No one can stop you from taking this land as long as you live. As I was with Moses, I will always be with you. I will never leave you alone. Be strong and don't be afraid. You will lead these people to take the land. That is the land that I promised to give to their ancestors. Be strong and do not be afraid. Be very careful to do all the things that Moses commanded you to do. Then everything will go well with you everywhere that you go. You must keep on speaking the words of God's law. Think about what it says all the time. Be careful to obey it. Then you will do well and you will win. Remember that I've told you this. Be strong and do not be afraid. Do not be weak, but be brave. I, the Lord your God, will be with you everywhere that you go. Joshua speaks to the Israelites. So Joshua commanded the leaders of the people, go through all the places where the people live. Tell them to get food ready for a journey. In 3 days, you will cross the Jordan River. You'll begin to take the land for yourselves. This is the land that the Lord your God is ready to give to you. Joshua said to the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh, remember what Moses, the Lord's servant, told you. The Lord your God is giving to you a place to rest safely. He has given this land to you. Your wives, children, and animals can stay in this land that Moses gave to you on the east side of the Jordan River. But your strong men must cross the river with their weapons. They must go in front of the other Israelite tribes. You must help them until the Lord gives them a place to rest, as he has already given to you. When all the other tribes are safe in the land, you may return to the land east of the Jordan. Moses gave this land to you. The people said to Joshua, we will do whatever you tell us, and we will go wherever you send us. As we always obeyed Moses, so we will obey you. The Lord your God was with Moses, so we pray that the Lord will be with you too. If anyone turns against you and does not obey your commands, we will make sure that he dies. You must be very strong and brave. Wow, talk about capital punishment. Joshua 2, these people love to kill. Rahab helps two women of Israel. Let's see, verse 1. Then Joshua sent two men to go out from Shittim. He sent them in secret to see what the land was like. He told them, go, look at all the land, look very carefully at Jericho city. When they came to Jericho city, they arrived at the house of a prostitute. Her name was Rahab. They stayed there. Some people told the king of Jericho, look, some Israelite men have come here tonight to see what our land is like. So the king of Jericho sent a message to Rahab. He said, bring out the men who are staying in your house. They have come secretly to see what all our land is like. And why would you go to a prostitute's house? Things people wonder. But Rahab had hidden the two men. She replied, yes, some men did come to me. I did not know where they had come from. When it was nearly time to close the gate of the city for the night, they left. I do not know where they went. If you chase after them quickly, you may catch them. But she had taken the men up to the roof. She had hidden them under some straws that she had put there. So the king's officers went out of the city to try to find the two Israelite men. They went along the road to the Jordan River, to the place where the road crosses the river. As soon as they had left, people shut the city gate. Rahab went up to the roof of her house. She spoke to the men as they prepared to sleep. She said to them, I know that the Lord has given this land to you. Everyone here is afraid of you Israelites. Everyone who lives in this land is very frightened. We heard how the Lord caused the water of the Red Sea to become dry. In that way, he brought you out of Egypt. We heard what you did to Sihon and Og, the two kings of the Amorites. We heard how you destroyed them completely on the east side of the Jordan River. When we heard what you had done, we were frightened. We know that we are not strong enough to fight against you because the Lord, your God, is God. He rules everything in heaven, and on earth. Now, please use the Lord's name to make a strong promise. I've been kind to you. So promise me that you will be kind to my family. Show me that you will certainly do what you promised. When you attack this city, do not kill my family. Save the lives of my father, my mother, my brothers, and my sisters, and all their families. The men replied, we promise to do that. If anyone kills you or your family, may we die too. Do not tell anyone about us. When the Lord gives us this land, we will be kind to you. We will save your lives. So Rahab put a rope out through the window of her house. The house that she lived in was part of the city wall. The men climbed down the rope. Rahab told them, go to the hills. The men who are chasing you will not find you there. Hide there for 3 days until they return to this city. Then you can go back to your people. The men said to her, if you do what we say, we will do what we have promised. We will soon attack this land. So tie this red string in this window that we came through. Bring your father, your mother, your brothers and sisters, and all your family into your house. If any of them leave your house, they may die. If that happens, we will not be guilty. We'll only be guilty if our soldiers hurt anyone who is in your house. But if you tell anyone about us, we do not have to do what we promised to you. Rahab said, I agree with what you said. She sent the men away. When they had gone, she tied the red string in her window. The 2 Israelite men went into the hills and they hid there. The king's officers looked along the road for them for 3 days. They did not find them, so they returned to Jericho. Then the 2 men came down from the hills and they crossed the Jordan River. They went back to Joshua. They told him everything that had happened. They said to him, we are sure that the Lord has given us the whole land. All the people there are frightened of us. Joshua 3, the people crossed the Jordan. Early the next morning, Joshua and all the Israelites left Shittim. They put up their tents beside the Jordan River. They waited to cross the river. 3 days later, the Israelite leaders went to every tent. They commanded the people, the Levite priests will carry the covenant box of the Lord your God. When you see them, you must leave here and you must follow them. They will show you the way to go because you've never been here before. But do not go near to the covenant box. Stay about 1,000 meters behind it. Joshua said to the people, make yourselves ready to serve the Lord as his holy people. Tomorrow the Lord will do great miracles among you. He said to the priests, pick up the covenant box and carry it in front of the people. So they picked it up and they went in front of the people. Then the Lord said to Joshua, today I'll begin to make all the Israelite people respect you. They will know that I am with you in the same way that I was with Moses. The priests that are carrying the covenant box must go to the shore of the Jordan River. Tell them to go into the water and to stand there. Joshua said to the Israelites, come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. The God who lives forever is with you. He will certainly chase the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites out from this land. Then you will have their land. The Lord will show you that he will certainly do this. Look now, the covenant box of the Lord of all the earth will go into the Jordan River in front of you. Now choose 12 men, one from each tribe of Israel's family. Watch the priests who are carrying the covenant box. As soon as their feet touch the water of the river, you will see that the water stops running. It will rise up like a wall. So the Israelite people prepared to leave their tents. The priests carried the covenant box toward the Jordan River. The people followed them. It was the time of the harvest, and there was a lot of water coming down the river. But when the priests reached the shore of the river with the covenant box and their feet touched the water stopped. It stopped a long way up the river at a town called Adam, that is near Zarethan. The water going down to the salt sea stopped completely. So the people crossed the river near Jericho city. The priest stood in the middle of the river on dry ground with the Lord's covenant box. While they stood there, all the Israelite people walked across the river on dry ground. And that way, the whole nation arrived on the other side of the river. Joshua chapter 4. When the whole Israelite nation had crossed the Jordan River, the Lord spoke to Joshua. He said, choose 12 men from the people, one from each tribe. Tell them, pick up 12 stones from the middle of the river. Take them from the place where the priests are standing. Carry the stones with you to the shore. Put them in the place where you stay tonight. So Joshua called the 12 men that he had chosen, one from each Israelite tribe. He said to them, go into the middle of the river, beyond the Lord's covenant box. Each of you must pick up a stone and put it on his shoulder. There will be one stone for each of the Israelite tribes. The heap of stones will help you to remember what happened today. In future years, your children will ask you, what do these stones mean? Then you will tell them that the water in the Jordan River stopped where the Lord's covenant box was. When the priests carried the covenant box into the river, the water stopped. These stones will help the people of Israel to remember this forever. So the 12 men obeyed Joshua's command. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan River, as the Lord had told Joshua. There was one stone from each Israelite tribe. They carried the stones to the place where the people had put their tents. They put the stones down there. Joshua also made a heap of 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan River. He put them in the place where the priests with the covenant box had stood. Those stones are still there today. The priests had carried the covenant box into the middle of the river. They stood there while the people did everything that the Lord had told Joshua. That is what Moses had told Joshua. The people crossed over the river quickly. As soon as everybody was on the other side, the priests also took the covenant box to the other side. The people watched them as they did this. The tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh led the people across. They were all ready to fight it. Moses had told them. About 40,000 men who had weapons crossed to the flat land near Jericho. They marched past the Lord's covenant box. That day, the Lord caused the Israelite people to respect Joshua. They respected him all his life as they had respected Moses. Then the Lord said to Joshua, tell the priests who are carrying the covenant box to come up out of the river. So Joshua told the priests, come up out of the Jordan. So the priests came up from the middle of the river. They were carrying the Lord's covenant box. As soon as their feet touched the dry ground on the shore, the water of the Jordan ran again. There was so much water that it made a flood like before. On the 10th day of the first month, the people left the shore of the Jordan River. They put up their tents at a place called Gilgal. That was on the east side of Jericho city. At Gilgal, Joshua made a heap with the 12 stones that they had taken out of the Jordan River. He said to the Israelite people, in future years, your children will ask you, what do these stones mean? Then you must tell them, we Israelites went across the Jordan River on dry ground. Yes, you have seen what the Lord your God has done. He made the Jordan River become dry so that you could cross over it. That was like he did to the Red Sea, so that we could cross over it when we left Egypt. The Lord has done this so that all the nations of the world can see how powerful he is. He did that so that you would always obey him, the Lord your God. Joshua chapter 5. Many people heard how the Lord had caused the Jordan River to become dry. This included all the Amorite kings on the west side of the Jordan River and all the Canaanite kings who lived near the sea. They heard how the Lord had made the river become dry until all the Israelites had crossed to the other side. So the kings became very afraid of the Israelite people. They felt too weak to fight against them. Circumcision at Gilgal. The Lord said to Joshua at this time, make knives of stone and circumcise the Israelite men. So Joshua made the knives and he circumcised the men at Gibeath Harala. That is why Joshua had to circumcise them. All the men who were old enough to fight when they came out of Egypt had now died. They died in the desert as they traveled to Canaan. That's sad. All those men who came out of Egypt had already been circumcised, but all the sons who were born on the journey through the desert had not been circumcised. The Israelites had traveled in the desert for 40 years, but all the men who were old enough to fight when they left Egypt had now died. You already told us that. This happened because they had not obeyed the Lord. The Lord had promised to give them the land of Canaan, a land where there's plenty of food and drink. But he made a strong promise that those men would not see that land because they turned against him. Now Joshua circumcised their sons who had taken their place. The fathers had not circumcised them while they traveled in the desert. All the Israelite men were circumcised, and they stayed there in Gilgal until they were strong again. The Lord said to Joshua, this shows that you are no longer ashamed to be slaves as you were in Egypt. Today I've taken away your shame. So they call that place Gilgal, and it still has that name. The Israelite people ate the Passover meal on the evening of the 14th day of that month. They did this while they were at Gilgal near Jericho city. The next day they ate food that they had grown in Canaan. For the first time, they ate flat bread and grain that they cooked on a fire. The manna that they had been eating no longer appeared. The Israelite people never ate manna again. Now they could eat the food that was grown in Canaan. The captain of the Lord's army. While Joshua was near Jericho, a man appeared to him. Joshua looked up, and there he was. He stood in front of Joshua with a sword in his hand. Joshua went towards him. He asked the man, are you here to help us or to help our enemies? The man answered, neither. I'm the captain of the Lord's army. Now I'm here. Joshua fell on the ground to worship the man, and he said, sir, I am your servant. Tell me what I should do. The captain of the Lord's army said, remove your shoes from your feet. You're standing on holy ground. Joshua did that. Joshua chapter 6, Jericho city falls. The people of Jericho had shut the gates of the city to make it safe. No one could go in or out of the city. The Lord said to Joshua, I will soon give Jericho to you. I will put its king and all its brave soldiers under your power. You and all your soldiers must march around the city once each day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk in front of the covenant box. They will carry trumpets as they walk. On the 7th day, you and your soldiers must march around the city 7 times. At the same time, the priests will blow into their trumpets. Then they will make one long, loud noise with their trumpets. As soon as you hear this, all the soldiers must give a loud shout. Then the city walls will fall down. The whole army will go straight into the city. Joshua called the priests to come to him. He told them, pick up the Lord's covenant box. 7 priests must march in front of it. They must hold 7 trumpets, 1 each. Then Joshua told the people to start marching around the city. A group of soldiers should march in front of the Lord's covenant box. Joshua finished speaking to the people. Then the 7 priests carrying their trumpets marched in front of the covenant box. They made a noise on their trumpets as the covenant box followed them. While the priests made a noise on the trumpets, some soldiers marched in front of them. Another group of soldiers followed behind the covenant box. The trumpets were making a noise all this time. But Joshua said to the people, do not shout or speak aloud. Do not say anything until I tell you. When the right day comes, I will tell you. Now shout aloud to attack. When I tell you that, then shout. Joshua made them march around the city once with the Lord's covenant box. Then they returned to their tents and slept there that night. Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests picked up the Lord's covenant box again. The 7 priests who carried the trumpets marched in front of the covenant box. They were making a noise with their trumpets. One group of soldiers marched in front of the priests. Another group of soldiers marched behind the covenant box. The trumpets made a noise all the time. That is how they marched around the city on the second day. They marched around once and then they returned to their tents. They did the same thing for 6 days. On the 7th day, they got up at dawn again. They marched around the city as they had done before. But this time they did it 7 times. The 7th time, the priests made a long, loud noise on their trumpets. Joshua told the people, shout aloud to attack. The Lord has given the city to you. The city and everything that is in it belongs to the Lord. So destroy it all. Only the prostitute Rahab and all the people who are with her in her house will live. This is because she hid the 2 men that we sent. Be careful. Do not take for yourselves the valuable things that belong to the Lord. If you do that, you'll cause bad trouble to come to the whole Israelite family. The Lord will destroy us all. Everything that's made from silver, gold, bronze, and iron belong to the Lord as his holy things. You must store them with his other valuable things. When the trumpets made a noise, all the people gave a loud shout to attack the city. When they did this, the walls of the city fell down. All the soldiers went up into the city. They went straight in and they took the city for themselves. They destroyed everything that lived in the city as a gift to the Lord. With their weapons, they killed men and women, young people and old people. That's bad. As well as cows, sheep, and donkeys. What did the animals do? Joshua said to the 2 men that Rahab had hidden, go into her house, bring her out with all her family who are there with her. That's what you promised to do for her. So the young men who had been to look at the city went to her house. They brought out Rahab and her whole family. That was her father and her mother and her brothers and all who belonged to her. They took them to a place that was near the Israelite tents. Then they burned the whole city and everything that was in it. They stored the gold, silver, bronze, and iron things with the Lord's valuable things. But Joshua kept Rahab safe as well as her family and everyone who belonged to her. Rahab had hidden the men that Joshua sent to find out about Jericho City. Because she did that, her family still lives among the Israelites even today. At that time, Joshua made a strong promise. He said, if anyone tries to build Jericho City again, the Lord will punish him as a guilty man. When he starts to build, his oldest son will die. When he puts up the city gates, his youngest son will die. So the Lord was with Joshua to help him. Joshua became famous everywhere in the land. Now, I don't know about him giving that curse. No one told you to do that, Joshua. You did that. Joshua 7, the sin of Achan. The Israelites did not obey what Joshua had said about the valuable things that belonged to God. Achan took some of these things for himself. He was Carmi's son, who was the son of Zimri, who was the son of Zerah. They were from the tribe of Judah. The Lord was very angry with the Israelites. Joshua sent some men to go from Jericho to Ai, that is a city near Beth Aven and east of Bethel. He said to the men, go up and look at the land near there secretly. So the men went to Ai to see what they could discover. The men came back and they said to Joshua, there are not many men in Ai. Do not send our whole army to attack it. 2,000 or 3,000 will be enough to take the city. So about 3,000 Israelite men went to attack Ai, but the men of Ai made them run away. They chased the Israelites away from the gate of the city, and they killed about 36 Israelite soldiers. They chased them down the hill as far as Shebarim. They killed the Israelites as they ran down the hill. When the people of Israel heard this, they became very frightened. Joshua was so upset that he tore his clothes. He fell with his face to the ground in front of the Lord's covenant box. He stayed there until evening time together with the Israelite leaders. They all put dirt on their heads. Joshua said, Almighty Lord, why did you ever bring us over the Jordan River? Did you bring us here so that the Amorites could destroy us? It would have been better for us to stay on the other side of the Jordan. Now our army has to run away from our enemies. Lord, there's nothing more for me to say. The Canaanites and the other tribes who live in this land will hear about what has happened. They'll come and attack us, and they will completely destroy us all. If that happens, nobody will ever respect your great name again. The Lord said to Joshua, stand up. Why are you lying on the ground? Israel has done a bad thing. They've not obeyed the command of the covenant that I made with them, they have taken for themselves. That should say they. That's a misspelling. It should say they have taken for themselves some of the valuable things that belong to me, not that have taken for themselves. They have taken them and they've tried to deceive me. They've hidden them among their own things. That is why the Israelites are running away from their enemies. They themselves must now be destroyed because they belong to me. If you want me to continue to help you, you must destroy everything that belongs to me. You should not have taken those valuable things for yourselves. So stand up now. Tell the people to make themselves clean. Make yourselves ready. Tomorrow, you'll come to stand in front of me. I, the Lord God of Israel, tell you, Israelite people, you kept some of the things that I told you to destroy. You will not win against your enemies until you remove those things. In the morning, tell the Israelites to come to me, one tribe at a time. I'll choose one tribe. The clans of that tribe will come in front of me, one clan at a time. I'll choose one clan. And the families of that clan will come in front of me, family by family. I'll choose one family. Then the men of that family will come stand in front of me one by one. And I'll show you which man has taken the things that belong to me. You must kill that man and burn his body. You must kill him and everything that he has together with all his family. That's not fair. What did the family do? Thank God for grace, because that's not fair. He's done a very bad thing that no Israelite should ever do. He has turned against the covenant that I made with my people. Why should the family have to suffer? Early the next morning, Joshua told the tribes to come and stand in front of the Lord. They came. I mean, so much killing in this, and I mean not from the enemies, just killing from within Israel. Wow. They came one tribe at a time. The Lord chose the tribe of Judah. Then the clans of the tribe of Judah came one clan at a time. The Lord chose Zerah's clan. Families from Zerah's clan then came one family at a time. The Lord chose Zimri's family. Joshua then made each man from Zimri's family come one by one. The Lord chose Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zimri, son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah. Then Joshua said to Achan, my son, tell the truth to show that you respect the Lord, Israel's God. Tell me what you've done. Do not try to deceive me. Achan replied, it is true. I've done a bad thing against the Lord, Israel's God. This is what I've done. I found a beautiful coat from Babylon. I found 200 silver coins and a piece of gold that weighed 0.5 kilogram. I wanted them so much that I took them for myself. I hid them in the ground in my tent. The silver coins are under the other things. So Joshua sent some men to Achan's tent. They ran there and they found the things that Achan had hidden. The silver coins were under the other things. The men took the things out from the tent. They brought them to Joshua and all the other Israelites. They put them all on the ground in front of the Lord. Then Joshua and all the people took Achan, the son of Zerah, and the silver coins, the coat, and the heavy piece of gold. They also took his sons, his daughters, and his cows, sheep, and donkeys. They took all his things to Achor Valley. Joshua said, why did you cause so much trouble to us? The Lord will certainly give you trouble today. You know, I'm trying to figure out, why would they take his sons and his daughters and his cows and his sheep and his donkeys? Then all the Israelites threw stones at him until he died. They also killed his family. Oh, that's terrible. I probably would have left Israel. I couldn't handle it. Too much. Thank God for grace, because I just said, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to some other nation. I can't deal with this. Then all the Israelites threw stones at him until he died. They also killed his family, and they burned all the bodies. Wow. They put a big heap of stones over him. They're still there today. That is why the place is still called Trouble Valley. Then the Lord was not angry with his people anymore. Woo! Deep story. Joshua 8. The Israelites destroy Ai. Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid. Continue to be brave. Take the whole army with you and go to attack Ai. This time I will give the king and all his people to you. I'll also give to you the city and its land. You must destroy the city and its king as you destroy Jericho and its city. But this time you may take their valuable things and the animals for yourselves. Hide some of your men behind the city so that they are ready to attack." So Joshua and the whole army marched towards Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 of the best soldiers, and he sent some of them out at night. He said to them, "Listen carefully, go and hide behind the city. Stay near to it. Be ready to attack. In the morning, I'll march towards the city with our other soldiers. When we get near the city, the enemy's men will come out of the city to fight against us as they did before. Then we'll turn around and we'll run away. They'll chase us away from the city. They'll say, 'The Israelites are running away from us,' as they did before. We'll continue to run away from them. Then you must leave the place where you've hidden, go into the city and take it. The Lord your God will give it to you. When you've taken the city, start to burn it. Do what the Lord has told you to do. Be sure that you obey my commands." Then Joshua sent the men away. They went and they hid in the west side of Ai, between Bethel and Ai. But Joshua stayed with the other soldiers at night. Early the next morning, Joshua took the army to march towards Ai. He and the leaders of Israel marched in front. The soldiers who were with Joshua marched up to the city. They stopped in front of it on the north side. They put up their tents there, where there was a valley between them and the city. Joshua had already sent about 5,000 men to hide on the west side of the city between Bethel and Ai. The whole Israelite army was ready to fight. Most of them were with their tents on the north side of the city. The other soldiers were hiding on the west side of the city. That night, Joshua went down into the valley. The king of Ai saw that Israel's army had arrived. Early the next morning, the king and his army hurried out the city. They wanted to fight against Israel's army at the same place as before, on the hill near the Jordan Valley. But the king of Ai did not know that some Israelite soldiers were hiding behind the city. Joshua and his army let the men of Ai chase after them. They pretended to be afraid. They ran towards the desert. The king told all the men who remained in the city to chase the Israelites. So they considered to continue to chase after them far away from their city. No men remained in Ai or Bethel. They all chased after the Israelites. There was nobody left to keep the city safe. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Hold out the spear that is in your hand. Point it towards Ai. I'm now giving the city to you." So Joshua held out his spear towards Ai. So as soon as he did this, the men who were hiding behind the city came out quickly. They ran into the city and took it. Immediately, they used fire to burn it. The men of Ai looked behind them, and they saw smoke in the sky above the city. But they could do nothing to escape. The Israelites who had been running away from them now turned round to fight them. Joshua and his army also saw the smoke. They knew that the other group of soldiers had taken the city. So they turned around and began to attack the men of Ai. Now the Israelites who had gone into the city also came out to fight. So the men of Ai were in between the two groups of Israelite soldiers. The Israelites killed all the men of Ai. Only the king of Ai was still alive. They caught him and took him to Joshua. The Israelites killed all the men who had lived in Ai. They killed them when they chased them towards the desert. Then the Israelite soldiers went back to Ai and killed everyone there. All the people of Ai died on that day. That was 12,000 men and women. Don't kill civilian people. Why kill the women? Joshua continued to point his spear at Ai until his army had killed every person who lived there. But the Israelites took the valuable things and the animals for themselves. That was what the Lord had told Joshua. Joshua burned the city and he broke down its walls. It's still like that today. He hanged the king of Ai on a tree. He left his body there until evening. At sunset, Joshua told his men to cut the body down. They threw it on the ground outside the city's gate. They covered it up with a heap of stones. Those stones are still there today. And what did the people of Ai do to you? To kill all the women as well and children? Joshua reads God's law to the people. Then Joshua built an altar on Ebal mountain to worship the Lord Israel's God. He built it as the Lord's servant Moses had told the Israelites to do. Moses had written this on the scroll of God's law. The law said, "You must build an altar with whole stones that you have not cut. Do not use any iron tools on them." They made burnt offerings on the altar to worship the Lord. They also made sacrifices as friendship offerings. The Israelites watched Joshua as he made a copy of God's law on the stones. This was the law that Moses had written. All the Israelites stood on each side of the covenant box with their faces toward the priests who carried it. The leaders, officers, and judges were there, as well as foreign people who lived with the Israelites. Half the people stood with their backs to Mount Gerizim. The other half stood with their backs to Mount Ebal. Moses had told them to stand like that when the Lord wanted to bless them. Then Joshua read the whole law aloud to them. He read the blessings and the curses as they are written on the scroll of the law. Joshua read aloud every command that Moses had written. He read it to all the Israelite people, the women, children, and the foreign people who lived with them also listened. This is the word of the Lord. Please put those words in the comment section. This is the word of the Lord. Follow, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that arrow at the bottom of the screen and share this video. Shall we pray? Well, Father God, as we come before you, there's much, much more killing taking place inside of the book of Joshua as it carried on from the books of Moses, Genesis through Deuteronomy, and being in the new covenant and reading this through New Testament eyesight. It appears so barbaric, all of this killing, not so much even just the killing of people outside of the Israelite family and nation, but even killing of their own people, executing judgment. And God, we simply say what we don't understand. Please help us to give understanding, because again, it seems so barbaric to kill innocent families for the sin of one individual and for what he did, to kill children and ladies and animals. God, we don't understand. So as we come before you, as we apply that to our lives, there's all kind of things that we see in life now that we don't understand. And we ask that you would give us an understanding, because you said in your word, with all thy getting, get understanding. And God, what you choose not to give us an understanding of, give us the peace and the assurance to know that everything you do is well and good, and you have an ultimate plan. Because God, as we look at this, there's so many things that we can see in our own lives, deaths of loved ones and accidents and hurt, harm, and danger, and things that have happened that do not make sense. So God, help us. We say like that father said in regard to his son, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Help the places where we have doubts. Help the places where we have misunderstanding and no understanding. We pray for that today, but we do say this, regardless of what we don't understand, we trust you. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we're reading your word. That's the reason why we're praying. We trust you. If that was not the case, God, we would not be taking this time to seek your face and to seek you through your word and to seek you through prayer. So God, that's where our heart is at. Our heart is to seek after you as the deer pants after the water brook. So panteth my soul after thee, O God. These and many other blessings we ask in thy son, Jesus' name, and for his sake. Let all the people of God say, thank God. Amen. And put in the comment section, this is the word of the Lord.